Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video to talk about something that I have been discussing a little bit in some of the Zoom private lessons that I've had with people that are auditioning. Um, and it's something that can easily be done, but I just don't think we do it enough as musicians, as percussionists, unless we're being forced to. But it's just working on, a lot of people call them chop builders or things like that. And there's a million different ways and things that you can play to work on endurance. But I would question everyone right now with, have you been doing enough to work on endurance? And that could be focusing on a technical aspect. It doesn't just have to be 8 and 25 or 8 and 100 or triplet rolls for days or something. It could be something that you already know, but have you done it for more than the length of the exercise that you're currently learning? So let's just take, for example, 16th, 8th notes. So we all know, the 8 on the hand. That. Well, what if you were to turn that into 16ths? Play it lower with a nice rebound. And again, techniques vary. We talk about ours specifically in a certain way, but this is more along the lines of consistency of sound, consistency of motion. I prefer this exercise to really work on the wrist and making sure the wrist is engaged behind every note. The faster you get, you can completely eliminate the wrist and just work on fingers. There, my middle finger is getting a workout. Same here. Or my wrist is really getting a workout in that respect, but making sure that I get a fluid rebound. Could you do something like that for, say, 10 minutes and then take a 2-minute break and then do it for 10 minutes again? It's really boring. You can put on some music that you enjoy. That's a tempo that makes, that allows you to play. And in that, I found some inconsistencies. I started noticing that I wanted to use a couple of fingers as some finger work in there as opposed to strictly wrist. And I would constantly think about that inside of that set and inside of the next set after my 2-minute water break or whatever. But this is a great opportunity for us to get in the gym, so to speak. I've made the analogy to a lot of people inside of these lessons that, at Alabama, when you look at football practice and you see these people doing these exercises that in no way reflect how they look when they're on the field on a Saturday, well, that's indeed what it's for, is to get them stronger. Either stronger by a couple of reps or to work on their endurance when it comes to, how long they're doing this thing. We talked the other day in a lesson about the parachute on the back of someone trying to get stronger legs inside of running. There are some things that we can do that has nothing to do with a performance technique, but it can be a practice technique. Back in the day, we used to talk about playing on a pillow. You get 0 rebound, you play on a pillow. And then we started hearing and seeing people saying stuff like, saying things like, well, that's not how you really play a drum, so I don't think it's the best way to practice. I do. I think that's a great way to practice if you have in your brain that this is to get a certain muscle group stronger. But I'm not going to take that exact same approach inside of my performance in front of people. But there are some things that we can do to ensure that we're not squeezing the front of the stick. We can wrap our first finger around the other side. First webbing is what we call it. And play the same thing. Now I've limited to being able to use my back fingers very much, and I'm really just focusing on my wrist. You could even go to second webbing, right? Snare drummers, you could play with just the thumb on the pad, making sure you get nothing but a rotation. Put the stick in the back fulcrum area. Again, differing per different techniques, and we'll talk about our specifics, but right now it's just a matter of working on the dexterity and the endurance, and then maybe add a finger. Sorry, I'm bending over here. The pad is for match grip, so adding fingers or going back to just straight fingers, straight thumb with straight fingers, so that you're not using that thumb, but you're just simply using your wrist. And how fast can you get it from day to day? But it's not just how fast you can play it, it's how you're playing it well. The how is very important, but then how long are you playing it for? Again, we use the term chops loosely sometimes, but what does that mean? Do you always have to play triplet rolls? Can you play something that you already know? An exercise that we'll be doing some this upcoming fall is to gradually turn from all wrist, not mechanical. When I say all wrist, I don't mean mechanical, and I don't think it's ever meant to be that. You can still be nice and relaxed and rebounded, but eighth notes turning into double strokes, double beat, triple beat, and then quadruple beat on top of that to really start understanding how the fingers need to work, but trying to keep everything the same height. And making sure that everything gets back to that same height, really trying to work on the wrist, but then understanding how those fingers can start helping throughout the process. But me playing that and in a short video and just showing you one bar of that, I think a lot of times we're at home and we try to perfect the piece of music. We try to perfect that exercise. And that's great. You really need to work on each beat at a time when it comes to learning this thing. But when it comes to just you having the endurance and the muscle memory, having the ability to capture exactly what it is that you play, building a habit or breaking a habit and then trying to rebuild another one, do we get enough sustained reps inside of our practice time? I think that's something to think about. I think it's something to work on. Keyboard players, snare drum right hand, bass drum quad both hands. I think something that you can really work on is just wrapping that first finger around. Keyboard player to balance. And watching the wrist and making sure the wrist is breaking every single time as opposed to using the fingers. When do you start noticing the wrist limiting itself and stopping, but then the fingers are taking over? The faster we get or the different patterns that we play, we know that has to happen. But wrist being our priority motion, and every note is generated from the wrist. Hopefully, the faster we get, we have to do some of this, of course, but I just think that's something that we don't do enough of. You want to do some finger yoga or stick yoga or finger exercises. That can be done too with the first finger, second finger, third finger, same thing over here, and making sure that the wrist is not turning throughout that. That's the same thing, but how long are you playing it for? 10 minutes can be a long, rather boring time, but it can really produce some fantastic results. If you're watching yourself in the mirror, like we're talking about while you're doing this, if you're either playing to that track or you're playing to a metronome, putting the metronome on 2 and 4, putting the metronome on upbeats, playing with how you utilize that met to help you gain better confidence in your time. That's just some stuff that I think we could do and get in the gym, so to speak, and not just play for short periods of time, but really dig in and kind of sweat some of that stuff out. I think would be very beneficial to everyone, regardless of what you're playing. But check. I mean, you can. I'm thinking right now a rudiment that you might know. When's the last time you played flam accents for 10 total minutes without stopping at all, while staring in a mirror, watching yourself, adapting as you play, and adjusting as you play, really listening, and then 2 minutes of water, and then whatever the case may be. It doesn't always have to be rolls that work on chops. Those help in a very specific set of ways, and they really help a lot. But even inside of that, I played for way less than 30 seconds of both of those rudiments, and I immediately found things that I wanted to fix inside of the playing and thought, like, I didn't love this, I didn't love that from a quality of sound perspective, from a flow perspective. But just, I think that's something that we could all dig into and kind of make a commitment with yourself that you're going to get in the gym, so to speak, and get some work done on your endurance just as much as you're working on some slow technical things or some passages inside of the prepared material. I think that's great. But if you have any questions, shoot me an email, send me a video of you doing some of this stuff, and we can talk throughout that if you would like. But hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, roll tide, wash your hands, do all that stuff. Everything, make sure that you're staying safe. But what better time to do some of this stuff now that we're all in quarantine. So again, I hope everybody's doing well. Hope that helped a little bit. I got some more videos on the way when it comes to some specific information of 2 mallet, 4 mallet, snare drum, traditional grip, quad, bass. Those videos will be coming soon. So keep working. Can't wait to see your videos to us, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.